Hello, this is Kirk Stevens, and welcome to my presentation on the politicalization of academic libraries, a discussion on the trend of hyper-politicization in academic libraries and the academy. Out of the many trends that are shaping the future of academic libraries, I felt motivated to research how the current highly politicized climate is affecting academic libraries. Um, and this politicalization of academic libraries has made the discussion about academic freedom, equity, diversity, and inclusion practically unavoidable. So, what may have been a theoretical viewpoint discussed primarily amongst those in the field is now making headline news and has legislative ramifications that have become reality. And of course, this trend is not new. Politics have always affected academic libraries. So, in this presentation, I will discuss the early influence of academic freedom in universities and academic libraries in the United States, post war growth of academic enrollment, followed by the post Vietnam War decline in academic financial support, and growing skepticism. Um, Also, we'll discuss the liberal versus quote unquote practical curriculum, um, the rise of and a growing trend of DEI, and the attack um, on academic institutions, academic freedom, and of course, academic libraries currently. So, the concept of academic freedom as we know it today can be traced back to the early German universities of the 14th century. This whole idea of seeking freedom or seeking truth through scholarship and research without interference from others. But it wasn't until the late 19th century or the mid 19th century did we start to see a shift towards practical courses, quote unquote, that were seen to translate for better economic production and improved income. Uh, the first public university in the United States was the University of Virginia, established by Thomas Jefferson, who emphasized the illimitable freedom of the human mind and a separation from religious sects. Um, so during this time, we saw a growth in academic institutions and academic libraries, um, beginning with the Morrill Act of 1862, which provided federal land grants and established agricultural and mechanical arts colleges, and this brought about a period of growth of land grant colleges and the universities that still exist today and are large research institutions this day. And during this period of growth, there was a need for expansion of library collections and expansion of academic libraries. And World War II brought about a binding between military defense and university operations and fundings. Uh, and government at this time had an influence, a political influence, on academic institutions with a skew towards scientific studies through contracted research during the war. And this helped mold the public's view of the university's worthiness and ability to solve real world problems. And post World War II, the federal government was supportive of academia and in bills like the GI Bill of Rights and the 1965 Education Act were a reflection of that and included financial support for public and private universities. So, beginning in the 1970s, late 1960s, there was the social and economic realities of that era brought about a decline in financial support in higher education, and the war during that time sparked student protests and revolts and began to shift social perceptions of the academy from top levels of government, including the White House, as funding increased costs for students, and the institution, combined with the public's shift of the academy to skepticism, laid the foundation for a period of a more neoconservative, politically speaking, interest in the academy and the academic library. An example from this period was in 1969 when President Nixon weighed cutting university funding over Vietnam protests, specifically at Massachusetts MIT. Yet he had rejected a proposal to end overall federal funding to universities because even he understood the importance of the academy and academic research, but there were still federal budget cuts, which led to deferred maintenance and hiring freezes in libraries, which became commonplace during this period. So when I speak of a politically neoconservative viewpoint of higher education, it's one that focuses on privatization and commodification and a preference towards applied curriculum and developing skills for the job market. And this kind of led to this debate of humanities versus practical curriculum. And a longitudinal study at the University of Manitoba, a well-known research project, which saw a growing trend of these curriculum, this labor-oriented curriculum at the university. For libraries, an academic library's purpose is to support students and faculty that aid in research and study. It's important that senior library leaders are aware of trends and adopt mission statements that support the library and the institution's mission. And recently there's been an increased focus on diversity, equity, inclusion to aid or to assist a rapidly diversifying student body in the 21st century. According to National Center for Education Statistics, 44% of U.S. resident students attending post-secondary institutions were non-white during the fall 2017 term. And also societal shifts in the messaging around race relations and anti-discrimination has led to these kind of academic library statements. And these ideas are de facto mission statements for academic libraries and are political positions of themselves. So libraries have positioned themselves as agents in social justice. And this affirms how opposing viewpoints against DEI contributes to the politicalization of academic libraries. Now, the examples of opposition towards DEI language and measures are plentiful and pretty much one-sided in nature on the political spectrum. But laws written by majority Republican members of office against DEI have affected many areas of publicly funded society, including universities. For example, in 2004, Alabama Governor Ivey signed Senate Bill 129 into law, banning DEI offices, diversity programs, and identity-based preferences, and preventing institutions from forcing students and employees to, quote-unquote, agree with certain divisive concepts. And this prompted the closure of DEI offices at the University of Alabama schools, as well as Auburn and Jackson State University. And there has been no higher official anti-DEI measure than from the Office of the President of the United States. the signing of Executive Order 14151, also known as any radical and wasteful government DEI programming and preferences, just detailed a reversal of a previous order to promote diversity programs in government-funded programs. And the Department of Education has taken action to eliminate DEI initiatives, which has affected the mission, which contradicts the mission of the majority of academic libraries, and it's created a political battlefield within the academy as faculty and library leaders have to now walk a tightrope when implementing or even discussing policies that could jeopardize funding or impede academic freedom. So all of this political defunding and the White House's willingness to withhold money signals an overt use of hard power by government, and probably the most explicit form of political involvement in academia that we've seen in our lifetimes, of course, or certainly. So academic libraries must now be aware of this manipulation of language for the creation of panic and attempts to change, further change public perception. And by identifying these issues threatening libraries, professionals can better prepare for challenges and collaborate with stakeholders to find ways to protect academic freedoms. And also libraries can cement themselves as important institutions of information literacy, and vital for the return of fact-based education and knowledge, and that contradicts the public rhetoric. So they can position them, instead of, in the face of becoming obsolete, they can actually position themselves to be more important than ever in our current situation. So thank you for listening, and I hope my presentation helped shed light on this growing trend of overt politicalization in academic libraries, and hopefully show that it's not a new trend, and that we can learn from the past and also use this as an opportunity to take advantage of the changing times in the profession. Thank you.